Andrew Lester died this week. It was announced yesterday that the 86-year-old man who was set to be sentenced in the coming days after shooting Ralph Yarl through his front door back in April of 2023 was obviously not going to live to see any kind of sentencing. This was announced yesterday, and it came courtesy of the Jackson County Prosecutor's Office. The Clay County Prosecutor's Office, Zachary Thompson. And the entire story is one of tragedy for everybody involved. There's no winners here. There's no losers here. But the statement from the family of Ralph Yarl is a loser statement. Let's be very clear about that. So Clay County put out a statement yesterday saying, "We have learned of the passing of Andrew Lester and extend our sincere condolences to his family during this difficult time. While the legal proceedings have now concluded, we acknowledge that Mr. Lester did take responsibility for his actions by pleading guilty in this case. Our thoughts remain with both families affected by this tragic incident as they continue their healing process." So that's a fair statement. That's an appropriate statement from Clay County Prosecutor Zachary Thompson. The family of Ralph Yarl reacted with this statement. "The news of Andrew Lester's passing brings a mix of emotions, but it does not bring justice. One of the reasons we pushed for a speedy trial was to ensure the public we would see that our society does not condone shooting an unarmed, innocent child simply for ringing the wrong doorbell, especially when that child was targeted because of the color of his skin." The statement continues, but I'm going to stop it right there. There is zero evidence that suggested that Ralph Yarl was targeted because of the color of his skin. In fact, as was noted during court proceedings, Andrew Lester multiple times was asking authorities how the boy was doing, if he was okay. It was never a white or black issue. There was no evidence to suggest it was a white or black issue. But the family doesn't care about that. I believe that's because they've gotten very rich off of making it a white and black issue. They have 3.5 million reasons to continue on with the false premise that it was a white and black issue. That's how much money they raised on their GoFundMe. And who knows how much other monies have been raised off of this deal that we don't know about. So you got to keep the grift going. Even after Andrew Lester ends up dead, days after he pleaded guilty in this case. And remember, if you go back to April of 23 in this story, the guy had recently lost his wife. He was at the time, 84 years old, living alone. And I'm not condoning what he did. I'm not. We'll never know what exactly happened at that front door when Ralph Yarl showed up to the wrong house on the wrong street looking to pick up his brother. Whether or not there was some type of altercation at the door, we don't know. There are obviously mixed reports on that. But regardless, there's no condoning what the man did. At the same time, it feels like one big tragedy for everybody involved. And you know and I know, if Ralph Yarl was white, this would have never seen a story beyond a couple of headlines in Kansas City. That is a fact. And you know it, and I know it. Deep down, you know it. Even if you're sitting there yelling at me, yelling at the radio, take a deep breath and admit you know that is true. Or if Andrew Lester was black, you know this is a story that gets a headline on the local TV stations for a day. Maybe there's a follow-up story a few months later, and that's it. This is the story that feeds national media narratives and local media narratives, disgustingly enough, that there is, this massive racial divide in this country, and that white people in particular are out there shooting unarmed black people willy-nilly because of their skin color. It's not true. Remember, back in 2020, there was a poll done of 1,000 people, and the question was asked, hey, how many unarmed black people are shot by the police every year? Do you remember going over this poll together, John?
Oh, yeah. It had ranged 100
to
500,
1,000.
1,000.
Yes. So there were like 20 to 30% of people in this poll who thought that 1,000 unarmed black people or more were shot every year by the cops. The answer was 10. Because when the media takes a story and blows it up to further a narrative, it's not about the facts. It's about making it seem like stuff like this is happening on a regular basis, and it's happening because of the races of the individuals involved. And people in Kansas City and the national media use this Ralph Yarl story for exactly that. Exactly that. And all we have to prove whether or not Andrew Lester had any racist bone in his body was the fact that court documents revealed that Lester was concerned with the fate of the young man and asked multiple times about his well-being. The only thing that contradict that, as you may recall from the story a couple of years ago, is that Andrew Lester's grandson trashed in the local media and was like, yeah, he watches a lot of Fox News. Yeah, he's a racist. That was it. It was this punk of a grandkid saying he watched Fox News or something, so therefore, obviously, he's a racist. Because no doubt about it, right? That's how this works. The family should be ashamed of itself. And I don't hold this against Ralph Yarl. He's a minor. He's a kid who I genuinely believe ended up at the wrong place at the wrong time. But it's sad, it's pathetic what's happened with the people around him. And how as Andrew Lester ends up dead this week in a terrible ending for anybody, to spend the last 2 years of your life living with this kind of regret. Suddenly the whole world knows your name when nobody knew who you were 5 minutes before Ralph Yarl showed up at your front door. And your life ends like this. And this is what you get remembered for. And frankly, this is all people are going to remember you for. To then just rub the salt in the wound of the Lester family, who did nothing wrong, and basically say that they're now dead parents, they're now dead grandfather, they're now dead brothers, whoever is basically a racist and shot Ralph because he was a young black boy is disgusting. And it's the kind of stuff that, people should be shamed for. But because of the way this cuts, it's never going to happen. It's not. It should, and it will here. But it won't happen anywhere else because people either don't want to say it, they don't have the gumption to say it, even though they know it's true. The Yarl family went on to say, for nearly 2 years, Andrew Lester never apologized. Instead, he and his attorney used every legal maneuver possible to delay accountability. Now another black child harmed by prejudice will never see the man who shot him face the full weight of the justice system. A black child harmed by prejudice. Is that what this was? I would be curious to know the evidence of that. While Lester finally admitted guilt, it came at the very last moment after 2 years of stalling. The delay leaves our family reeling. Oh, cry me a river. Are you kidding me with that? The family has benefited and used this to incredible monetary advantage. Yet still, the victim card is just beyond disturbing.